That radio chick Cheryl Lee here. Welcome to the Still Rocking It podcast, where we'll have music, news reviews and interviews with some of our favourite Australian musicians and artists.
Today I spoke with one of the most amazing women I think I've ever chatted to. I must confess to being a little bit starstruck and a little bit tongue-tied. This lady is absolutely amazing, not just in music, but in every other aspect of her life. And she has put back into the community, and not just the musical community, her entire life. I'm talking about the Go-Betweens drummer, Lindy Morrison, and we're chatting today about her latest band, Snarky Circus Lindy Band, and her songwriting collaboration with Rob Snarky of the Black Eyed Susans. After two lovingly received mini albums, everybody's favourite indie all-star ensemble is set to release its debut album. Let's find out everything that this amazing woman is up to.
To catch up on podcasts from other favourite artists, simply go to thatradiochick.com.au.
You're with Cheryl Lee, that radio chick, and I'd like to welcome into the Zoom room today legendary Lindy Morrison. It is so lovely to meet you, Lindy. Thank you for spending some time with us today.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thanks.
I'm exhausted. I've read through your body of work and everything that you've done and everything that you've achieved in your wonderful life, and I need a nap.
Well, I'm pretty old. I'm not young. So I've had the capacity to do a lot more than most people, because I'm one of the older seniors now in the music industry.
Well, you sure have done a lot and still doing a lot. We've got some exciting new things to talk about, but I was hoping we could just step back a tiny little bit first before we go forward, because I was wondering, why drumming? At that time, I can't imagine it have been like on the top of the list of instruments for young girls to play.
I wasn't a young girl, so I'd already left school, because, you know, a young girl wouldn't have moved on to a drum kit at that stage, not unless they're very familiar with Karen Carpenter. But I was in a share house as a young adult, and in that share house were people like Geoffrey Rush and another actor called Billy Brown and a whole bunch of musicians, and there was a music room. In that music room was a drum kit, and I moved to the drum kit. So I was very lucky. Then I started taking lessons from the Leblers in Brisbane, which are, everybody who played drums in Brisbane worked with the Leblers. And then, of course, I was in an all-girl punk band called Zero, and then moved from that into the Go-Betweens by 1980.
Lucky you moved into that house then.
Yeah, it was really great. It was such a great... So that was 73 and 74. That I moved into that house, and it was just the most creative house. People were putting on shows in the house all the time. There was always music being played. We really had a really, really great time.
How did it come about that you were lucky enough? Because that could have set you on the whole path of your career.
Well, I was just at university, and I was acting in university reviews, like the Architecture Review. They were just silly satirical pieces. And I met people there, people who were creative. They invited me to go and stay in that house. So that's how it happened.
Amazing.
And of course, everybody was in those large share houses in Brisbane in the early 70s.
And what were you studying?
It was social work. I did a Bachelor of Social Work at the University of Queensland, and then worked for 2 years in the Aboriginal and Islander Legal Service. Well, in fact, 1 year in the Aboriginal and Islander Legal Service, and another year with the Department of Children's Services, just dealing with Indigenous families. Then I left social work and didn't take it up again, really, till I got involved with Support Act.
And we'll chat about that as well, because I loved it when I read about that. I want to know all about it. I was wondering, perhaps you may have come from a musical family, and that's how you...
No, not at all. I did not come from a musical family. My family was not musical.
Well, it must have been meant to be that you met the right people in the house, and the rest is history, as they say.
It was very lucky, because I then travelled to London with Geoffrey, and he went to the De Croo Mime School over in Paris. Billy Brown went to the Royal Shakespeare Company. I had all sorts of different jobs, including being the nanny to Sir George Solti in Italy, his children. He was a very famous conductor. So I had some very interesting experiences
How diverse, how exciting. More amazing stuff about you, Lindy. The Go-Betweens were formed in 77. You joined in 80.
Yeah, there was a number of drummers before me.
Yeah.
I think someone might have counted them up. There might have been about 8 drummers before me, but most of them only did 1 or 2 gigs. There were a couple of ones that stayed for a while, a guy called Tim and Bruce Anton. Yeah, I was the lucky one too, because I was really committed. When I joined the Go-Betweens, I wanted to stay with the Go-Betweens.
Yeah.
You know, I really, really loved their music. I loved their attitude, and I loved I loved being in the band. Also, we were leaving Brisbane, and that to me was a very important part of the story.
Guys that came before you, were they all male? The other drummers?
No, there was 2 women.
Oh, wow.
There was one called Lisa, and there was one called Claire. Both of them did 1 gig each. Yeah.
Is that like the interview and they failed the interview?
I think that they might have rejected the men.
Oh, righto.
Yeah.
Well, it's lucky. I think it must have been like destiny. They were waiting for you.
Well, they were definitely looking for a woman drummer, and I suppose I was the most visual in town. I certainly covered a lot of territory. You know, I was playing in the girl punk band called Zero, and I had been acting before that in 2 theatre companies called the Popular Theatre Troupe and Grid and Tonic. They were kind of political theatre companies. But I'd made a decision to move and concentrate on playing.
Yeah. And as I said earlier, the body of work over all these years is so immense. We haven't got time to talk about them all. So we might just pick a couple of things. In 2001, Cattle and Cane, which is arguably one of the most popular of the band's works, was selected by APRA in the top 30 Australian songs of all time. So that's a big tick from the peers.
Yes, and it made the second 100 of the Triple J top 200.
Yeah.
And Streets of Your Town made the top 100. I was really pleased that Cattle and Cane made the second 200 because I thought that the songs that made the top 100 all had very high production values. You know, so the alternate indie kind of sound like Cattle and Cane, which is very alternate indie, was never going to cut it. Like the Triffids' Wide Open Road didn't, none of the Saints made it in. You know, those kinds of acts. Because, you know, the production values weren't as good. You know, obviously production values have changed now with the kind of quantizing of all the instruments so that they're all in metronomic time.
Yeah. Speaking of Streets of Your Town, great song. You know, it's lasted the test of time.
Yes, it has. That's one of the very good points about it.
You have got one daughter. Is she following you into your musical journey, or is she off on a different
No, she's a completely different trajectory altogether. In fact, she's the director of fundraising for the Federal Labor Party.
Probably can't get much different.
Well, you know, I worked with Support Act to develop Support Act and worked with Support Act part-time, I must admit, for like 25 years. And that was when I was raising her. So I suspect that she saw a lot of the work I was doing and the value in fundraising for Support Act so that Support Act could help people who worked in the music industry.
Absolutely. So she's like a chip off the old block. She absorbed it via osmosis.
Yeah, I think that she absorbed it. That's right.
Let's talk about your journey with Support Act, because you and I both definitely agree it is, you know, an absolutely amazing charity. For those that don't know, it helps artists, not just artists, but sound guys, lighting technicians, roadies, everybody in the music industry who falls on hard times.
Yeah. So it provides help in the payment of bills. So if people having trouble paying their bills, then they can apply to Support Act if they've worked in the industry in some capacity. Support Act will pay your bills up to a certain amount per year. Maybe it just depends on the situation now.
Yeah. And how did you get involved?
I was on the PPCA board. PPCA is the collection society for the fees paid for the use of the sound recording. It's like the APRA of the sound recording. I had been elected onto that board to represent artists, and the other people on the board are the major record companies and independent record companies. Now, they had all got together with APRA to set up Support Act, and they knew I had a social work degree.
Yeah.
So they asked, would I work for 3 hours a week, which I did for about 10 years, work for about 3 hours a week before it was extended to maybe 12 hours a week. It was very hard work getting a support act established.
I take my hat off to you. We do a fundraising luncheon once a month, so 12 luncheons a year, and send all our money over and know that you guys will, appropriate it to those that need it.
Yeah, it's so great that you do that. Yes, now I retired from Support Act after COVID.
Yeah.
It was time to move on. I'd been there for a very long time.
Yeah. On behalf of all the, not just, as I say, the artists, but all the workers in the music industry for all those years of hard work and dedication to that cause, I thank you on all of their behalf. You deserve a gold watch and a medal.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Yeah, I really wanted to get back into music. I got a gig with Alex the astronaut, and I was working with her for a year. I was her first drummer. Of course, she's now got a young band. And then Rob Snarsky came and asked me to join with him. And it was when I was with Alex, I was going, I just want to get back into music now. My daughter's left. I don't need to be looking after her. So I joined what Rob called the Snarsky Circus Lindy Band, and I've been on the road with them for the last 4 years. Yeah, we've actually played in Adelaide a number of times. We love playing Adelaide, and in particular, we really love playing at the Wheat Chief.
Yeah, great little venue, isn't it?
It's the best venue. It's honestly the best venue. I love it. Yes, we're playing there on Sunday, the 19th of October. So the great thing about it is you can do afternoon gigs. So we're doing 2 shows in the afternoon. That's what I really love. Like, people can come and sit and eat food from those vans that park outside and sit in it's almost an open courtyard. It's a lovely place to play.
We've got some good little spots in Adelaide, haven't we? And that's definitely one of them. We'll get on to the brand new music, and we're going to play before we run out of time in a minute. Just wanted to touch on a couple of your achievements, which again is many and vast and long list, but you were awarded the Order of Australia Medal in 2013 for services as both a performer and an advocate. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
The Ted Albert Award for Outstanding Services to Music, again, well deserved, and the Queensland Lifetime Achievement Award. The list goes on and on and on, Lindy. You've been such an amazing part of the Australian music landscape, and you've created songs that became the soundtrack to our lives.
I think some of those awards were also given because whilst I was working with Support Act, and I was also running community music events all the time, they were all over Australia. In fact, I did down at Beachport, which was fabulous. I had to organise all the primary schools to march in a parade. It was a really big job. But I did lots of work like that, and in particular, I worked with an intellectually disabled band called the Junction House Band. And we did theatre, we did many recordings, it's the same people for like 25 years.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of other work I did in places like Mackay, Northampton, Mount Isa, Fremantle, where I worked with communities to develop shows or to develop drum pageants.
That's what I mean. Your achievements and your input has been immense and almost immeasurable. We want to talk about the brand new things as well, because it's continuing on. Snarsky Circus Lindy Band. Who made up that name? It's a bit hard for an announcer to say very fast.
I know. I didn't. Robert did. And frankly, if I'd had, I was so kind of flattered that he asked me to join the band that I failed to stand up to him at the time and say, that name is a little bit of a mouthful, Rob. And also, to be honest, it should have been Snarsky Circus Morrison Band. That would have been better.
Yeah.
And I did bring that up, and he said, it didn't have the same rhythm. But in fact, now I think about it, it does. But anyway, I didn't have the nous at that stage to stand up to him, of course, as time's gone on. I'm much more relaxed.
I reckon it should be called the Lindy Band Snarsky Circus. How about that? But yes, it is a little bit of a mouthful. But when I read this, I could hardly believe it, that this is the first time that you have recorded your own compositions. Can that be true?
That is true. That's right. So Rob really encouraged me to write. And of course, you know, I'd been writing on all those community music programs that I'd worked on, but I was always working to get other people to write. So, and also because I wasn't recording, there seemed for me to be no point in, you know, writing all the time. So when Rob said, let's write together, let's co-write, I began to really take it seriously. And we worked together a lot to get, you know, songs together. There's about 10, maybe 9 of them. I think there might be one that's totally his and one that's totally mine on the album, but mostly they're co-writes.
You always work very well together.
Yes, he's a lovely person. Rob Sarsky's a lovely person. He really is. Yeah, and the band's great. Shane O'Mara is the producer, and he plays guitar. Dan Kelly plays bass, and Evil Graham Lee plays pedal steel. You know, we've all been around.
Yeah, we're all very experienced musicians.
Yeah.
That is wonderful that you're starting to write and record your own compositions as well.
You've got one to play, haven't you, called You're So Adorable?
Yes, that's right. I'll get you to introduce that in a minute. How are we going? A couple more minutes. Let's talk about it then, shall we? The debut album for the Snarsky Circus Lindy Band, and it's called What's Said and What's Left Unsaid. I must say, the names of the songs and the names of the albums, they're all so quirky and interesting. There's no sort of like generic love songs in there.
That's true. Probably because we're older.
Can get away with it. Like on the side B, since I slept with you, everybody wants to sleep with me.
Yeah, I wrote that.
That's amazing.
I wrote that.
We'll play that as well, but we'll go out with You're So Adorable. And what's the other one that I liked? I don't think I'll ever sleep with you again.
That one is completely Rob, I think. I don't think I write anything on that one. Yeah.
It's fantastic that you have had such a long career. What would you have done, Lindy, if this whole music thing hadn't have worked out for you? Would you have stayed in the health sector? Did you have another plan B?
No, always had a great capacity to live in the present. I think that served me well. I didn't worry about the future. Of course, as soon as you have a child, things change. So I suppose even then though, I mean, I made sure I was always working. That's why I moved into support act and into community music. And, you know, obviously I couldn't be on the road. I think I've had a capacity to think a lot in the present, and that's served me very, very well.
We'll extend to you an open invitation, Lindy, if ever you are in Adelaide on the third Thursday of every month, because that's when we have our Support Act SA fundraising luncheon. You're welcome to join us at the committee table anytime.
I'd love that. I would actually love that. That would be so fun. Okay. I'll keep that in mind, Cheryl. Yeah. Very pinpoint time, though, isn't it?
I know.
I'd have to be lucky to land there at that time, but it's a good idea.
It works out sometimes. Recently, we had Brian Cadd. Luckily, he was here at Trinity Sessions at the same time as our lunch. And gee, I'm so glad we had him because shortly after he became quite unwell and is still recovering.
He's a lovely man, isn't he?
Yes, he is. So you would have been fairly reasonably involved with him earlier on in the Support Act story.
Yes, because he was involved. Yeah, kind of. I mean, he was on the board, I think, and the board was a hand's length from me, really, because I was a worker, you know, in the way those things are.
Yeah, that's right. The new album has launches booked for Adelaide and Melbourne and more dates to come. As you mentioned, our date here in Adelaide, get onto the Google on it. It's on October the 19th. You've got 2 shows to choose from at the Weedy at Theberton. Get onto that. And if you're a Victorian, yours is on Saturday the 25th at Memo Music Hall. Get onto the website and get those booked. Was there anything else that you would like to touch on, Lindy, before we go?
No, it's been lovely to meet you, Cheryl. And really, it's really lovely. It's been a lovely interview.
I've loved chatting with you, and I've loved doing a little bit of research and finding out more about your amazing life and career and achievements. It's been great, and I really hope that one day we can catch up at a Support Act lunch. And in the
so do I.
Would you like to introduce side A, track 1 from the new album?
All right, so you're going to listen to a song that I wrote with Rob. I wrote the lyrics to this and the melody, but not to the middle bit. He wrote the lyrics and the melody to the middle bit, but I wrote the verses. It's what you'd call a list song. It's called You're So Adorable, and it's featuring a young woman singer called Lily Alaska.
Beautiful. So also get onto the Googleometer and you can pre-order What's Said and What's Left Unsaid.
Thanks, Cheryl.
I know you've got someone else coming on after me, so I really appreciate you spending some time in the Zoom room with me. I'm going to be in the US when you're in Adelaide.
All right. Oh, what a shame. I was going to bring that up. What a shame. But going to the US would be fabulous.
Hubby and I are taking our 5 kids on our sort of, trip of a lifetime.
You've got 5 kids.
Yeah.
5 kids. No kidding.
No kidding.
Wow, that's superb.
Thank you.
Good for you.
We will definitely keep in touch, and I'll look out for you next time that you're in our beautiful town, and all the best for the launch of the tour and the album.
All right. See you later. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye for now.
You're with Cheryl Lee, that radio chick. Thank you so much for joining me on the Still Rocking It podcast. Hope to catch you again next time. Get out when you can, support Aussie music, and I'll see you down the front.